Artificial intelligence has revolutionized the learning and development industry. It allows people to create personalized, adaptive learning experiences and automate administrative tasks, leading to more efficient and tailored education and training programs.
What is promising is the priorities that we see learning leaders have. So they're very interested in how are employees using AI right now to do the tasks they're already doing. How do we get best practices in their hands? How do we get them to abide by best practices so they can use more of it? And also making sure that managers are skilled enough at it to be able to implement AI as well.
That's Tom Whelan, Director of Corporate Research at Training Industry. Tom will share his latest research about artificial intelligence in the L&D industry and discuss the importance of focusing on learners when leveraging AI. Next on Powered by Learning.
Powered by Learning is brought to you by DaVinci Interactive. DaVinci's approach to learning is grounded in 30 years of innovation and expertise. We use proven strategies and leading technology to develop solutions that empower learners to improve quality and boost performance. Learn more at davinci.com.
Joining me today is DaVinci CEO Luke Kempsky and Tom Whelan, Director of Corporate Research at Training Industry. Training Industry provides information, insights, and resources to help people effectively manage the business of learning. Today, we are going to talk to Tom about the latest training industry insights on AI. Tom, it's great to see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, look forward to talking to you, Tom.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tom, to get us started, tell us a little bit about your background and your role with Training Industry.
Sure. So I'm the Director of Research at Training Industry. I've been with the company for about a decade. Prior to that, I did consulting for the military, a couple of years consulting in pharma, also had a stint in big tech as well. So my background is it's a lot of syllables. It's called industrial organizational psychology, which is basically work psychology. They're obviously psychologists, not marketers. But that's what it is. So that's what my background is. And kind of one of the things that's part and parcel of that field of research is things like training, talent pipeline. So, so I'm a duck in water, talking about this stuff. This is what my career's been.
Well, that makes perfect sense how it plugs right into your role, your background does. And, we definitely want to be talking about AI today. It's been about 2 years, I guess, since ChatGPT's public release. And we are starting to really see the adoption of AI really across the business world. And I know you've been researching specifically in the learning and development and the adoption that's been happening there. At this point, what kind of impact are you starting to see happen?
So the type of impact we're starting to see, I think we're still in the space where it varies considerably. I think organization to organization, but the sort of the main throughputs or the trends that we're seeing tend to be focused around use cases. So it's less AI is this big woo woo thing in the sky and wow, isn't it neato, and look at all the different things you can do with it. I think some people have realized it's not quite the Swiss Army knife we maybe thought it was. But if you tune it, it's really effective at working on specific tasks or specific problems. So what we are seeing kind of in both the market side of things and as well as how organizations are using it is things are starting to cluster around use cases. And the top three that we're seeing, because there's a lot of them, you can use it for wide and varied things, but the main ones we're seeing are trying to use AI to personalize learning for learners, trying to use it to help with simulations, and also to use it to localize content to learners either in different geographies or regions or who speak a different language than whatever the original content was in. And in these use cases, the differences that we're seeing can come from a few angles depending on how you're slicing the cake. So like the level of adoption that the organization has, already, or how much they're willing to put their arms around AI tends to kind of shift, I think, how they take their first steps into working with it. So what we've seen, for instance, is like the lowest adopters, when they're dipping their toes in the water, they're looking to use it for things like helping them put simulations together. They want to know, is there something they can do with learner support and AI? Whereas, on the high side, I mean, they're using it for pretty much everything. They're using it to personalize learning it. They're using it to localize their training. They're also using it for content creation, as well as coaching. And kind of probably where most people are in the middle of the bell curve, kind of falls in line with what I said some of the top use cases are. Those companies tend to be looking at, how can we harness the power of AI to personalize training for learners, especially for those operating at scale. If we have to get training on X topic out everywhere and across all sorts of different international borders, how do we do that, and how do we make sure that it's in the right language, it's regionalized to where the employee is and includes maybe what they need to know?
Yeah, that's great. When you look at some of the organizations that are much farther along in their adoption, what kind of impact are you seeing on the learning experience of the employees who work there or the learners who participate in their learning programs?
So it's an interesting question because I think there's a mismatch is the wrong word, but I think there's like an uncomfortable intersection where the organization is at with AI or trying to introduce AI solutions doesn't necessarily correlate perfectly or in some cases track at all with where employees are at with using AI. Like anytime we do learner surveys and we're asking people, how comfortable are you using these sort of technologies or how often are they engaging with them? We see a broad spectrum of where people are at. I mean, it's a rough and relatively balanced split between people who use it a lot and people who only use it a little. Now, there's not that very many avoiding it completely, and as time goes on, it's hard to avoid it completely. But I think any kind of discussion of the learner experience, we have to remember that the learners is not just kind of one unitary block of people with the same skills, the same exposure to these technologies, the same level of comfort with using these technologies, and so how they react to them, their willingness to use them can differ. So again, I think it's, what do I use? Uncomfortable intersection between like, where's the organization at? What are they trying to do? And kind of, are all the learners ready for it? And you're going to have some that, are like, hip, hip, hooray. Why did it take you all so long? But there's guaranteed, there's going to be some people that you don't want to drag them along screaming and kicking. You want to try to get them up and convince them gently to come along with you so that they can benefit from it as much as the people who are more eager to engage with AI.
Absolutely. And when you talk about personalization, what might a learner, I guess, almost automatically experience, and then what might they gain more out of by participating and engaging more in it?
So I think the story of personalization AI didn't suddenly birth this idea of, we can personalize learning to learners. There have been, attempts for years to use algorithmic methods to match content to a learner. I think what AI enables those technologies to do is to rapidly accelerate all that so that you can take performance data from that person. You can look at their past training data, and rather than kind of a person sitting in a chair looking at a spreadsheet going, does Jimmy need this training or not? You're just, an AI is doing it. And so how much training do they need? What particular, are there modules within a larger training where they don't need the whole thing, but they really need these 4 modules to personalize learning to that individual, and at that level of granularity and detail. That's I think one of the most exciting things that we see AI being able to do for training right now.
And it sounds like if you're a leader in a learning organization, that the data that you're collecting is really important to help inform and really power any of the personalization applications or any of the AI applications.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me at least, the data is key to this, and also having a plan for what it means and what to do with it, because this might be my bias, like for as great as an AI might be at doing the task, you still have to tell it what the task is, so it's like it still has to know what incoming data is good, like, does it have any sense of what an outlier is? Does it have any sense of is there I mean, because anybody that works with data knows no data is clean data. There's always mistakes and coughs and all sorts of things in it. So can the AI clean the data? Can it recognize patterns of mistakes? And I'm sure there's solutions that do all this stuff. But to me, I don't know. I think there's a bit of like a sinister banality with AI, where we can abdicate some of these decisions to the AI, but we're still ultimately responsible for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have learning data coming in and we're just putting it into the magic box and then taking what the output says and going, all right, act on it, go forth and do things, give this training to that person and that, without any checks in it, to me, that's potentially asking for trouble down the line. Because I think where we are right now, the tools are fantastic, but again, there's a sinister banality behind it.
Right.
Like to the extent that employees know that they're interacting with an AI solution in learning, or they know AI is driving things and suggestions behind the scenes. Everybody has varying understanding of how that works or what goes into that. So I think in terms of like both the visible and the invisible to the employee, and then what data that generates, and also their cognizance of the fact that everything that they do, everything they click, creates a data trail somewhere. And so like if you just suspect that they're looking at what you're doing in the background, like, you might alter your behavior a little bit. If you know an AI is tracking everything you're doing, then how might that lead behavior of employees, at least in a digital space, to alter their cookie trails intentionally? So the AI picks up or doesn't pick up certain things. I mean, so it's like, for as great as the data is, it's always a two-way street. There's always an interactivity somewhere in the system. That I think, injecting AI into it, because also some of the stuff I just mentioned, like that, all that stuff happened before. Like, again, AI didn't create a lot of these problems. But I think AI introduces this new variable into things that, at least I think from the learner side, we're starting to pick up on, but I don't know that there's been enough discourse on it yet.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then how about for the learning leaders? How are you seeing, I guess, the adoption among the listeners to this program, for instance, that how are they including it in their roles from the highest levels to the more mundane or routine tasks?
Well, where we see kind of learning leaders using it is a little bit of everywhere. Like, it almost seems like anywhere they can, they're going to use it. From the some of the data that I've collected, like, lack of buy-in is not a big problem. It seems like with these technologies, either from the stakeholder side or from the learning leader side. I mean, we don't get a lot of fear and trepidation, I think, from learning professionals on like, what is AI going to do to training. I think more people are just like, how do I use this, and what neato stuff can I do with it that maybe I couldn't do before, or was too expensive for me to do before, but now I have much easier access to do something innovative or engaging and attention grabbing in training. For what we see coming from leaders, though, like, the problems that they're grappling with, or I think what they're trying to work through, are things like data privacy, protecting intellectual property. If you are asking AI to help you with compliance training, like, does it really know what is in compliance and what is out of compliance? Because like, if ISO comes to slap you on the wrist, the AI doesn't care. Like, it's not paying a mortgage. Like, it doesn't, whatever. So do you want to trust it that much? I mean, there's also, do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the in-house expertise? Because you can be excited about it, but like, do you have people on your team? Or maybe does the learning professional themselves, are they skilled enough to be able to push some of these things through? And so that tends to be, I think, what at least what the data tells us, what a lot of learning leaders are kind of working with right now. I mean, of course, almighty budget is in there somewhere, but it's not leading the pack in terms of what is keeping them up at night. Now, what I think is and if any of that was maybe like what is promising. Is the priorities that we see learning leaders have. So they're very interested in how are employees using AI right now to do the tasks they're already doing. How do we get best practices in their hands? How do we get them to abide by best practices so they can use more of it? And also making sure that managers are skilled enough at it to be able to implement AI as well. And now, out of that, what was most interesting to me is kind of of a handful of different considerations. The lowest one was making sure decision makers know how to build strategic plans around AI. So I'm not totally sure what that says. There's part of me that says I think what it is different organizations trying to pick a different point of entry, or if a learning leader is looking at the cafeteria of AI solutions that are out there and trying to think, okay, how does company X, where we are, basically jump in the pool? Where do we begin? That I think is the riddle for some of them to solve. The optimistic side of things, I wonder if some of the, I guess, lack of emphasis on strategic planning is partially they don't need it that much. Like they're folding it into, because they're any company that is integrating AI. It's not like they lack a learning technology strategy. It's not like they just started cooking dinner out of nowhere and suddenly, they have to make an AI dish. It's like they were already cooking something and now they just have like a new spice that they can add into things. So I think to some degree, we don't see a lot of activity around, we need to make sure people are boned up on this because it dovetails into what they're already doing. Now, on the other side of that coin, it could also be that, they're still trying to figure out, like what are the best use cases? How can we get employees to use this? So the strategy part is not far behind, but, maybe the implementation isn't mature enough yet. Or maybe they're still piloting a few programs before they really solidify maybe what their ultimate long-term strategy is, where they're going to use it, and where they're going to realize cost savings. Because also at the end of the day, the name of the game here is it has to buy you some sort of efficiencies. It has to buy you some sort of gains in effectiveness. If not, you're just doing something neat. And but are you saving time? Is the output of what you're doing higher quality? So it's like just to use AI, like, yeah, that's cool, but that's not enough. And so I think in terms of, where learning leaders need to look, it's at like what are the use cases that work for me, and also how do you navigate around some of those concerns like privacy and compliance and infrastructure and things.
You mentioned that your research is, when you look at learner use, that some are all in and some are still cautious. And of course, some of that is just time and getting used to using AI tools. But if you're a learner and you feel that your learning leader, your employer has been very open about the use of AI and how they're using it to be more efficient, to be more innovative, does that conversation help the learner feel more at ease and help advance the use of AI at a company?
I think it does. I think kind of to your point, the key linkage I think maybe the learning leader needs to make to the learner is what is this AI going to do for you? So whether it's sort of visible, so is it like an AI coaching bot that the employee is directly interacting with and they know it's an AI? Or is it, kind of a nefarious behind the curtain thing, personalizing their training? And so they never see it. They don't know what the name is. They don't know maybe what the IT team curses about and calls it when nobody's looking. To all they know is my learning gets personalized. I get these good suggestions for things, and I even take some of these suggestions. So to me, it's a little bit of like where is the learner in that, and what is their level of comfort in that, and I think for the learning leader, it's maybe trying some pulse surveys, but trying to take the temperature of employees in some way, and it could be just like looking at usage even, but trying to get a sense of where are people at and where is their comfort level, because ultimately any of these solutions we introduce, we want them to be embraced. Usually they ain't cheap, and they're not simple to stand up either. So if the company is going to take the time and make the investment, both in obviously just spending the money, but investing in personnel, investing in outside solutions, investing in upskilling potentially an entire employee workforce. Like up and down the entire silo from the top to the bottom. That not only is there buy-in, and recognizing there's going to be varying levels of buy-in, but I think making sure that the learning leader and the learner are both at least somewhat on the same page in terms of what is the ultimate desired outcome of this? What are we ultimately trying to accomplish? So because maybe the learner might be like, what is it? It's like, no. Here's why we're doing this. Like, here's why we want you to talk to this AI coach bot. Here's why it's going to pop up on your screen and maybe be annoying, or why you're doing something that's going to make suggestions, or if you have this type of question, we want you to go directly to this tool to try to answer it, or at least, use it as your second line of defense, whatever it might be. That I think to make sure those channels of communication are open, so that anything that gets introduced and implemented to the employee population by L&D doesn't fail, because we were all rah to roll it out, and this is going to revolutionize our training and all that sort of stuff, and then you push it out there and it lands with a whimper. Because you never bothered to kind of check in on what do learners think about this? Like, where is our organization? The region we're in, the particular industry we're in. Like, how do people react to this? Are they scared of it? Are they excited about it? Or are they kind of like, this is another thing I'm going to have to learn, and my manager's going to ask me questions about, and we're all learning, so it's not like they're going to know the answers either. Kind of, what's their general I guess temperament about it.
That's good. And I guess, for your typical instructional designer or learning creator, where are you seeing the adoption there? What kind of use cases have you seen?
So I think for like creating content and instructional design, the best place that we've seen it is in just like creating a course outline. It's not science fiction anymore to be like, I have this, this manual of training material that people need to learn, and I have to create a course out of this somehow. So like, all right, you can either sit there and read it and drink untold numbers of cups of coffee, or I can just give it to an AI and be like, make an outline for me based off of this, and hit all the high points. And it'll do a pretty good job. It'll get you at least 50, if not 75% of the way there. It's probably not going to be perfect ultimately. But that's one of the things that we have been seeing, and I feel like seeing successfully is the acceleration of content creation. Or at least I don't feel yet like a lot of the things are good enough where you'd want to trust them in the last mile. Where you wouldn't want to have a subject matter expert check over the material, or at least see if there's anything missing. But in terms of idea generation, are you covering enough possible angles on a topic? It's fantastic for helping with those sort of things. It's kind of admittedly a little bit of a training industry favorite to talk about, but we've been trying to push people, like, use it for your internal marketing campaigns. Like, if you're trying to get employees interested in taking training, like, well, what's the course description look like? Is it drab? Is it exciting? Does it make you feel like, oh, this is going to be an hour and a half of wasted time? Or is the description compelling? Are you sending, are you messaging your own training to your employees in a compelling way? And AI is great with helping like craft that sort of language. So I think from an instructional designer standpoint, we see it as a fantastic tool, but not at all a replacement. So I think it can accelerate the process. It can add to the process. It can allow instructional designers, maybe more time to experiment with things and try interesting ideas. But it's not at all yet, just to allay anybody's fears. It's not at all to the point yet where I think anybody, with expertise in instructional design, it's not coming for your job.
Well, yeah, it's impacting their role, though, right? I mean,
Yes,
changing from being maybe, the person who has to dig through all that content to write that first outline, to being the person who's editing what's output and checking accuracy and really leveraging the ability to to have more capacity in that way, taking something that used to take 8 hours, making it 1 hour, but then also being able to do more, either higher fidelity output, like you were talking about with simulations, or more volume of short learnings that can be integrated into the workflow of the team to enhance productivity or to have more personalized experiences. All those things that seem to be more possible than they were when you're looking at the amount of time that it took before to create all of that.
Yeah. And kind of that reminds me of, I can't remember, I wish I could give credit to where I heard it, but I don't remember where it's coming from. But I heard somebody make a great point about kind of exactly this topic where they're like, to the extent that organizations want to, save time and cut costs and things like that, it's like, okay, if you have a team of 25, like, are you trying to chop your team of 25 down to 5 people because they can use AI? It's like, that's a race to the bottom. Seems like kind of a backwards way, or like a short term, like, let's save money way of thinking. Because instead you could take those same 25 people, keep them, get them all up on AI, and then those 25 can do the work of 250. You got the same people. And so I think a lot of it is also a case of like how organizations are looking to use it, but also just how we're conceptualizing what it can do, and what it will allow an L&D department to accomplish, and how that can potentially evolve.
Yeah, so many ways we're all tasked with improving the performance of the organization that we work for in a way that makes it more competitive, more of a leader, more valuable to its members or to its customers.
Absolutely.
Tom, you mentioned that you and your team members just published an ebook on AI. What have you published recently at Training Industry that our listeners can check out?
Yeah, more than happy to talk about it. So we just very recently released another ebook on AI that talks a lot about upskilling and some of the upskilling needs for AI, and at least like what organizations are doing now. One of the things that we've started to explore, and I'm very interested in, is taking a deeper dive into learner reactions to AI. Because kind of like I said, I feel like that's a piece of this whole, how do we use AI in training inside organizations, that there hasn't been enough discourse around. I feel like there's been plenty on what do learning leaders need to do. And I mean, we've talked about this already in this episode. Like, what do learning leaders need to do? What are some of the considerations they need to take into account? How do you talk to stakeholders about it? Like, what is it you're trying to do with it? What are you trying to accomplish? So I've watched all these discussions, and at one point suddenly it hit me. I'm like, there's another variable in here that it seems like we're missing. Like we're leading all these horses to the water. We've built this very expensive technologically enabled watering trough for them, but are any of them going to drink once we get them there? Like how willing are they to unburden themselves to an AI coaching bot? And because they're going to get something back that seems human-like, but if they know it's an AI, like how do they feel about it?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's like I've brought this up and had long conversations about it that have all ended with like, nobody knows. Like, it's like, good question. It could go either direction. And I'm sure like all answers are valid depending on the employee you're talking about too.
Well, and funny too, because we always hear in the industry, you have to focus on the learner. And here we are, finally getting around to that with AI. But it's an important question to ask, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think we covered a lot today, Tom, in the sense that we have a very optimistic future. And we also have a lot of challenges and risks out there that we'll be navigating as well. And, we're all in it together. And there certainly are lots of opportunities for us to enhance performance and to enhance learning and provide new experiences for learners that really power their organizations into new progress. Yeah, so really appreciate your time and your insights on your research, and certainly encourage you to continue to do it and publish it so that we can know the latest and greatest as we move forward.
Yeah. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for helping us navigate this, and we'll look forward to sharing some links in the show notes about the ebook and the other things that you've written about AI.
Thanks, Tom.
Pleasure to be here.
To check out Training Industry's new ebook, How to Boost Human Skills to Succeed in an AI World, look for the link in the show notes. If you have an idea for a topic or a guest, please reach out to us at poweredbylearning@davinci.com. And don't forget that you can subscribe to Powered by Learning wherever you listen to your podcasts.